Picture this. It's Saturday, June 28th, 2008. The sun is blazing over the crystal blue waters of the Caribbean, hundreds of miles northeast of Barbados. Below the waves, cocaine worth more than most people's lifetime earnings is racing toward Europe. But there's just one problem. Prince William is in the sky above. Yes, you heard that right. While most 26-year-olds were probably nursing hangovers from Friday night, the future King of England was literally hunting down drug lords from a Royal Navy helicopter. And folks, this isn't some made-up Hollywood blockbuster. This is the absolutely bonkers true story of how Prince William helped pull off one of the most spectacular drug busts in Caribbean history. Now, before we dive into this incredible tale, let's set the scene. Prince William wasn't supposed to be playing real-life cops and robbers in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Oh no, originally he was meant to be deployed to Afghanistan with his fellow soldiers. But here's where it gets juicy. The military brass decided it was too risky to send the second in line to the throne into a war zone. Can you imagine the headlines if something happened? Heir to throne captured by Taliban. The palace would have had a collective heart attack. So instead, they shipped him off to what they thought would be a nice, safe naval deployment in the sunny Caribbean. You know, helping with hurricane relief, maybe intercepting the odd fishing boat, perhaps working on his tan. What could possibly go wrong? Well, as it turns out, everything could go spectacularly right. Because within just 4 days of arriving, Sub-Lieutenant Wales, that's Prince William's naval call sign, because apparently even drug dealers deserve some royal protocol, found himself in the middle of the biggest cocaine seizure the Royal Navy had seen in years. Here's how it went down, and trust me, this is better than any action movie you've ever watched. It's 5:12 p.m. local time. The HMS Iron Duke, a Type 23 frigate, a floating fortress of British naval might, is cruising through international waters. On board are 185 crew members, including our royal protagonist, who's been pulling his weight like any other sailor. No special treatment, no royal quarters, just good old-fashioned military service. But this isn't just any ship. The Iron Duke is what they call a North Atlantic patrol vessel, and she's got a very special mission. Sure, she's there to help British territories during hurricane season, but she's also packing some serious anti-drug firepower. On board is a detachment of U.S. Coast Guard personnel, because when it comes to the war on drugs, the Brits and Americans don't mess around. Commander Mark Newland is running the show, and he's just received some very interesting intelligence from the Maritime Analysis and Operations Center in Lisbon. There's chatter about a suspicious vessel in their area. The kind of vessel that has no business being hundreds of miles from shore unless it's up to something very, very illegal. Lynx helicopter crew, prepare for immediate deployment. We have a potential target. And here's where our story gets absolutely wild, because guess who's strapped into that Lynx helicopter as it lifts off from the Iron Duke's deck? That's right. The future King of England is about to become the world's most unlikely drug enforcement officer. Picture Prince William, head set on, scanning the endless blue horizon through the helicopter's windows. He's not there as a royal observer or a ceremonial figurehead. He's part of the crew, serving as a lookout, his eyes trained on the water below. And then, in the distance, something catches his attention. There, a speedboat, but not just any speedboat. This is what law enforcement calls a go-fast boat, a 50-foot vessel designed for one thing and one thing only: outrunning the authorities while carrying extremely illegal cargo at breakneck speeds. But here's the thing that immediately raises red flags. What the hell is a boat like this doing hundreds of miles from the nearest coastline? You don't take a fishing trip to Barbados in a go-fast boat, and you certainly don't go sightseeing in the middle of the Atlantic. The helicopter crew radios back to the Iron Duke. Suspicious vessel spotted. Fits the profile. This could be it. Commander Newland doesn't hesitate. Intercept and investigate. All hands prepare for boarding operations. Now imagine being one of those drug smugglers. You're cruising along, probably thinking you're home free with your million-dollar cargo, when suddenly you hear the unmistakable sound of military helicopter blades chopping through the air above you. You look up and there's a Royal Navy Lynx helicopter bearing down on you like something out of an action movie. But here's the kicker. One of the people in that helicopter tracking your every move is literally Prince William. Talk about your worst nightmare scenario if you're an international drug smuggler. The helicopter crew makes contact. Attention vessel below, this is the Royal Navy. Stop your engines immediately and prepare to be boarded. And what do our enterprising drug runners do? They floor it, because apparently they thought they could outrun a Royal Navy frigate and helicopter in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Spoiler alert, they couldn't. What follows is like something straight out of a James Bond film. The Iron Duke, all 4,900 tons of her, begins pursuit while the Lynx helicopter maintains visual contact. Prince William is up there, probably thinking this is slightly more exciting than his usual royal engagements. No ribbon cuttings or charity galas today, just real-world drug interdiction operations. The speedboat is fast, but no match for a Royal Navy frigate with the United States Coast Guard on board. As the Iron Duke closes in, the U.S. Coast Guard team prepares to board the vessel. These aren't your average maritime police. These are specially trained counter-narcotics specialists who've been waiting for exactly this moment. The speedboat is finally cornered. There's nowhere to run in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, and the crew knows it. The Coast Guard team boards the vessel, and what they find is absolutely staggering. 45 bales of pure Colombian cocaine, 900 kilograms. To put that in perspective, that's nearly 2,000 pounds of cocaine, more than the weight of a small car. And the street value? A mind-blowing 40 million pounds. That's about $74 million, or in today's money adjusted for inflation, roughly 75 million. Let that sink in for a moment. Prince William had just helped intercept enough cocaine to supply half of Europe's party scene for months. This wasn't some small-time operation. This was industrial-scale drug trafficking, the kind that funds cartels and destabilizes entire regions. But here's where the story gets even more incredible. The boat carrying all this contraband, it was literally falling apart. The thing was in such poor condition that it started sinking right there on the spot. Talk about cutting it close. If they'd arrived even a few hours later, all that evidence would have been sleeping with the fishes at the bottom of the Atlantic. The 5-man crew was arrested on the spot, and the cocaine was transferred to the HMS Iron Duke. The sinking speedboat was left to become an expensive artificial reef somewhere in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Commander Newland couldn't contain his excitement. This is a fantastic start to HMS Iron Duke's North Atlantic deployment. To have had a direct impact on the flow of cocaine into Europe just 4 days after we arrived shows the benefit the Royal Navy can have in maritime security and counter-drug operations. But wait, there's more. Because apparently one massive drug bust wasn't enough excitement for Prince William's Caribbean adventure. Just 2 weeks later, on July 18th, our royal drug hunter found himself in the middle of another operation. This time, it was even more intense. The Iron Duke intercepted another speedboat, this one about 110 miles north of the Venezuelan and Colombian coastlines, basically right in the heart of drug trafficking territory. But this crew wasn't going down without a fight. When the helicopter approached and ordered them to stop, they ignored the radio calls and tried to flee. Big mistake. What happened next was straight out of an action movie. The Royal Marines in the helicopter, with Prince William serving as lookout, fired warning shots. When the boat continued to flee, they fired 5 rounds of non-lethal disabling fire directly at the boat's engine. Imagine being Prince William in that moment. He's sitting in a military helicopter watching Royal Marines disable a fleeing drug boat with precision gunfire. This is about as far from royal tea parties as you can possibly get. The boat was stopped and 3 Colombian nationals were pulled from the water after they jumped overboard. While no drugs were found on this particular vessel, the crew had probably dumped their cargo when they saw the Royal Navy coming. Traces of cocaine were detected on 2 of the 3 men. Now here's what makes this story absolutely fascinating from a broader perspective. Prince William wasn't just playing dress-up or getting a ceremonial military experience. He was doing real work with real consequences in real dangerous situations. Think about it. While his future subjects back home were reading about drug problems in their newspapers, their future king was literally up in the sky, hunting down the source of those very drugs. He was seeing firsthand how international crime operates, how law enforcement responds, and what it takes to keep illegal narcotics from reaching British streets. This wasn't some royal photo opportunity or carefully orchestrated PR stunt. The Ministry of Defense made it clear that Prince William was functioning as a regular crew member, pulling his weight and contributing to actual operations. When the helicopter spotted that first speedboat, it was Prince William's eyes that helped track it. When the boarding operation commenced, it was Prince William providing surveillance support. And let's talk about the numbers for a moment, because they're absolutely staggering. 40 million pounds worth of cocaine in a single bust. To put that in perspective, that's enough money to buy several luxury mansions, a fleet of supercars, or fund a small army. This wasn't some street-level drug dealing. This was international organized crime at the highest level. The cocaine was likely produced in Colombian laboratories, funded by cartels that control entire regions of South America. It was probably destined for European markets. The profits would have flowed back to criminal organizations that used drug money to buy weapons, corrupt officials, and maintain their empires of violence and intimidation. But thanks to Prince William and the crew of the HMS Iron Duke, none of that happened. Instead, 40 million pounds worth of drugs ended up in evidence lockers, and 5 drug smugglers found themselves in custody. The broader impact of these operations can't be overstated. Every kilogram of cocaine intercepted represents hundreds of potential addicts who won't get hooked, dozens of families who won't be destroyed by drug addiction, and countless crimes that won't be committed by people desperate to fund their habits. From Prince William's perspective, this experience must have been transformative. Here's someone who was born into incredible privilege, who could have easily spent his entire military service in ceremonial roles or safe training positions. Instead, he chose to serve on the front lines of international law enforcement. These operations gave him something that no amount of royal education or palace briefings could provide: real-world experience with the international issues that Britain faces. When he eventually becomes king, he'll be able to speak about drug trafficking, international crime, and naval operations from personal experience, not just briefing papers. It also demonstrates something profound about the modern British monarchy. This isn't the stuffy, out-of-touch royal family of previous generations. This is a prince who's willing to spend his weekends hunting down drug dealers in the Caribbean. The HMS Iron Duke returned to the UK in late 2008, but her Caribbean deployment was already being hailed as one of the most successful counter-narcotics operations in Royal Navy history. The ship had covered over 31,000 nautical miles, made 22 port visits to 18 different locations, and most importantly, struck a serious blow against international drug trafficking. For Prince William, it was just another day in one of the most unusual offices anyone could imagine. He'd proven that he could function as a regular military officer, contribute to real operations, and handle himself in potentially dangerous situations. So the next time someone tells you that royalty is irrelevant in the modern world, remind them of this story. Remind them that while most 26-year-olds were figuring out their careers, Prince William was helping intercept 40 million pounds worth of cocaine in international waters. Remind them that the future King of England has personally contributed to taking dangerous drugs off the streets and putting international criminals behind bars. And remind them that sometimes, just sometimes, reality is more incredible than any fiction Hollywood could dream up. Because on that sunny Saturday in June 2008, Prince William didn't just serve his country, he helped make the world a safer place, one drug bust at a time. And that, folks, is the absolutely true, completely bonkers, and utterly spectacular story of how Prince William played a crucial role in a 40 million pound drug bust that should probably be turned into a movie starring someone ridiculously handsome who looks nothing like the real Prince William.